Did Musk save Iran? In case you missed it, widespread demonstrations are currently taking place in Iran. This time they are taking place in response to the murder of a 22-year-old woman who was beaten to death after she was accused of revealing too much hair under her veil. A tyranny-proof solution is provided by Elon Musk's Starlink service, which comes at a time when Iran is blocking its internet and threatening journalists. We will talk about it thoroughly only here on Musk Flow, so continue watching the video. Elon Musk, the chief executive officer of SpaceX, announced last week that he will activate the company's satellite internet service Starlink in Iran, even though large protests in the nation have resulted in the government shutting down internet access. Elon Musk, CEO of SpaceX, announced while U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken was saying that the United States had taken action to advance internet freedom and the free flow of information to Iranians. Massive demonstrations have taken place in Iran this week in response to the passing of Mahsa Amini while she was being held in detention. Mahsa Amini had been detained by the morality police for wearing unsuitable dress, which refers to the absence of a covering on her head. In the face of growing worldwide censure, Iran has implemented stringent new regulations on the use of the internet to suppress the assembling of protesters. He was pledging to make it possible for Iranians who are unable to use the internet due to limitations placed by the Iranian government to utilize a satellite internet network that is run by SpaceX. And the government of the United States stated that it will assist its efforts by relaxing its sanctions on Iran to encourage the unrestricted use of the internet and by giving the required permits to make the process work. Although it is not completely impossible to connect Iran to the internet by satellite, doing so is extremely unlikely, at least shortly. Several significant obstacles must be overcome before this can happen. The demonstrations, which began after Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old Kurdish woman, died while in the custody of Iran's morality police after being arrested for allegedly violating the country's traditional Muslim dress code, have now continued for 10 nights. Protests have been documented in most of Iran's 31 provinces, and it's believed that scores of people have been murdered while hundreds have been jailed. However, the authorities have not issued official tallies of the number of deaths or arrests. Several members of the police force, members of the security forces, and members of the paramilitary Basij force have been slain, and public property has been damaged. Senior authorities, including President Ibrahim Raisi, as well as state media, have condemned what they have referred to as riots. In response to the demonstrations, there have also been 2 rallies in support of the establishment so far. The first one took place on Friday, and the second one took place on Sunday. The authorities have also blamed terrorist groups for attempting to work towards separatist aims. Since the demonstrations in November of 2019, the Iranian government has implemented the most stringent restrictions on the internet yet, citing security concerns as its justification. Which parts are required for Starlink to carry out its intended purpose? To link up, customers need to first sign up for the Starlink service and then buy Starlink terminals, which are physical pieces of equipment that make it possible for users to communicate with one another via the network. In the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February, Starlink was rumored to have sent more than 15,000 terminals to Ukraine, which is a close friend of the United States. On the other hand, Iran believes that the Starlink terminals pose a risk to the country's national security, and as a result, the country will not let them in. For Starlink to operate, thousands of Starlink terminals would need to be smuggled into Iran at a high cost, most likely in the region of a few $1 million. This would be an illegal importation of Starlink technology. Last week, the Iranian Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a statement in which it claimed that the United States' decision to lift some of its restrictions relating to the internet constituted an attempt to violate Iran's sovereignty. It was stated that immediate action will be taken in response to this issue. A related event took place on the same day, which was the Iranian authorities blocking access to the Starlink website. What are some of the challenges that could be encountered in the judicial system? A great number of Iranians have pinned their hopes and ambitions on the Starlink service, and word of the service's activation has quickly traveled to all corners of the country. However, as of right now, the only concrete impact has been the propagation of malware by cybercriminals who have purported to be the developers of essential software for connecting to Starlink to trick clients into purchasing their malicious software. This situation has arisen as a direct result of unsuspecting customers falling for their tricks. If Starlink were to make significant headway toward achieving its goals without the assistance of the Iranian government, the corporation may be subject to harsh legal and regulatory sanctions. Iran has a long history of effectively resolving its differences with Western nations, most notably with the United States and the severe sanctions that it imposes through the usage of the court system. This has been the case for several decades. Iran may file a complaint against Starlink's plans if those plans are carried out. The complaint may be filed with the International Telecommunications Union, or ITU, which is the international communications regulatory body of the United Nations, or with another authority to lodge a legal objection to the implementation of the plan. This would occur if Starlink's plans are carried out. This would be done to lawfully oppose the execution of the proposal that is being discussed. If Starlink's plans are carried out in a way that they are intended to, the result would look something like this. The problem is that an organization that violates international standards in the way that it conducts its business very definitely will not be permitted to sell its wares in any part of Iran. According to Jadi, a prominent Iranian developer and a tech blogger, there is a possibility that the Islamic Republic of Iran will lodge a valid complaint against the company, which will subsequently cause issues for the company. Jadi believes that this will cause the company to experience a lot of difficulties. In what specific ways does access to the internet today remain restricted in Iran? The vast majority of Iran's 85 million inhabitants were unable to access the internet in November 2019, when huge protests broke out across the nation in reaction to an unanticipated spike in the price of fuel. For more than a week, there was a total lack of access to the internet. The majority of regional websites, including those belonging to the government and banks, were unreachable for the first several days after the outage. After the first week, the national lockdown was lifted, although certain restrictions continue to be in place in parts of the country where protests were continuing to be quite intense. On the other hand, things are different this time around because the authorities are experimenting with several tactics to restrict access to the internet. This is one of the main reasons why things have changed. Local websites and services have remained available online so as to not disrupt the normal functioning of the regional economy in any way. In addition, certain internet service providers, especially private enterprises, have been less significantly impacted than others as a result of the recent events. Customers of the largest internet service providers in the nation, such as MCI and Irancell, are now finding it more challenging to connect their homes and mobile devices to the internet, as well as access to the internet on their mobile phones. Connectivity is extremely difficult to maintain for the duration of the demonstrations, which begin around 4 in the afternoon and last well into midnight. Access to private virtual networks, or VPNs, which are a way that the majority of Iranians use to circumvent restrictions, is also exceedingly difficult at specific hours. This is one of the restrictions that have been placed on the internet in Iran. Since WhatsApp and Instagram are also still unavailable across the whole country, this indicates that Iran has blocked access to all of the key social media and messaging sites. Censorship is very prevalent in Iran. Hey, that's going to take us to the end of today's video. Please leave us a comment with your opinions in the box provided below. And if you found this video entertaining, well, please be sure to give it a like and make sure you subscribe to our channel. And if we can ask you one more favor, friend, please hit that bell icon on your way out the door. That way you will always be notified of our latest uploads on our channel. Thanks for spending time with us today, and we'll look forward to catching up with you in the next one. Have a great day.